G'day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Senator Ralph Babette from the United Australia Party, and today we have with us a special guest known as Chris Alston, better known right around the world as Billboard Chris. Chris is a father who decided to take a stand against harmful gender ideology, and his unique approach has gone on to create news all around the world. Now, I'm sure you would have seen video of Chris standing in public places wearing a sandwich board, proclaiming what used to be simple truths like children cannot consent to puberty blockers and no child is born in the wrong body. The reaction to his signs is always educational and enlightening, not least of which in Brisbane this week when he was threatened with arrest by the police for wearing just such a sign in Queen Street Mall. It's my delight to have him here today. Chris, how are you going?
Thank you so much for having me, Senator Babbitt. It's a great honor to be here.
So Chris, we've all seen all over the news, plastered everywhere, but can you tell us what happened in Brisbane the other day?
Yes, that was interesting. I did what I always do. I just go outside to have conversations. I don't know Brisbane at all. I'd only gotten into the country late the night before, so I found a busy spot where there was a lot of foot traffic. And I set up my tripod off to the side of this public square. And then I do what I do. I stood quietly waiting for people to approach, and I was having conversations. After about 45 minutes of being there, an employee of the council came up, and he told me that I was obstructing people's movement. This is a town square. It's about 40 meters wide, and I'm certainly not in anyone's way. And so he lied. He said I had stopped somebody. It's not true. He told me I had to move. And when people lie to me, and they can't cite some relevant law, I think it's important not to bow down to that abuse of authority. So I asked to see whatever legislation he was talking about, and I refused to move. He issued me an $806 ticket.
I'm going to show you footage from Brisbane yesterday. Billboard Chris decided to chance his arm standing quietly in Brisbane's Queen Street Mall until suddenly police and a council worker accused him of obstructing people. Have a look yourself. Which people? Watch this farce.
Police showed up, 9 police in total. And so for about the next hour, I think they were debating what to do with me. They eventually produced some piece of paper with the relevant legislation, which said that I could not obstruct people in this mall setting where all these shops were. Well, I wasn't obstructing anyone. Police told me to move. I refused to move because I know my rights. I'm comfortable taking this to court if need be. And eventually they physically removed me. They took my signs off. Police grabbed one of my arms on each side and they walked me out of there. I thought I was going to jail, but I don't think they want to do that. They don't want an international incident on their hands. And based on experience, I think most of those cops actually agreed with my message, which is that children cannot consent to puberty blockers. So no charges were pressed. And I went on to my next event.
How have you found the response that you've received so far in Australia compared to all of the other countries around the world which you've been to?
Yeah, so Australia is interesting. It reminds me of Vancouver almost 5 years ago when I started in September of 2020. People aren't as aware of this issue. They don't know what puberty blockers are. When I started out, nobody had a clue. But we've really had a successful education campaign, myself and all the other people, mainly parents, fighting against this. But I think Australia is just a few years behind. But I've seen this cycle play out. I've been part of it in the United States, where just 2.5 years ago, none of the politicians wanted to speak about this. I was meeting with members of Congress, and they all didn't want to touch it. 2 years later, this was the #1 issue affecting swing voters in the presidential election. So we have an advantage over the far left who are pushing this. We have the truth on our side. And a lie travels around the world while the truth is still putting her pants on. But the truth always wins in the end. The truth spreads for free. We're just going to keep spreading it, and I'm 100% confident that in time we're going to put a stop to this child abuse in Australia as well.
So Chris, I understand that you're in Australia right now in regards to some issues which you've had with the Australian E-Safety Commissioner and the X platform. Can you give us a quick breakdown of what that's all about?
Sure. So about a year ago, I received an email from X's legal department. They had forwarded me a takedown notice that had been sent to them by Australia's E-Safety Commissioner. This is a bureaucrat. Her name is Julianne Grant. She's actually an American woman who used to work for Twitter. And her job is to censor the internet. She decides what Australians can see and say on the internet. I had written a post critical of Teddy Cook. This is a woman who works for an LGBTQ organization. She worked for the Australian Professional Association for Transgender Health. And she says she's a man. She also posts pictures of bondage, bestiality, wants government-funded sex changes for everybody, including children. And the Daily Mail had written a critical article about her because she had been appointed to the World Health Organization, tasked with drafting policy for trans-identified people, tasked with drafting healthcare policy. This is not a doctor, not a medical professional. She's an activist. She's a queer theorist. She's not someone who should be writing policy because she just wants to harm kids. That is the result of her policy. She wants all kids put on puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones. That's not going to happen. We cannot live in a society where this happens. So I wrote a post critical of her. I called her a woman because she is. And the e-safety commissioner deemed that to be a step too far, and they ordered my post taken down. X refused, but they geo-blocked it in Australia. I filed an appeal. Then Elon Musk also filed an appeal. So we've got 2 appeals being heard at the same time next week. We're suing the Australian government for freedom of speech.
Who are you as a person, for the people out there that may not know you? And why do you do what you do? Why do you put yourself through this?
So I identify as a dad, a human male who protects his kids from gender ideology. I've got 2 girls. I've got a beautiful wife. I used to be a financial advisor. I had a real job, but I learned all about this child abuse starting back in 2019. And I decided to do something about it. It just was really weighing on me. So I quit my job, and I now travel around the world wearing signs. I may look ridiculous, but it's amazing how much respect I actually get, which still surprises me to this day, because people know that my message, children cannot consent to puberty blockers, is true. And they know that people are being vilified for stating this truth. And so I just have calm, rational, fact-based conversations with people all across the world, trying to educate one person at a time, because I have faith that when enough people learn about this, we'll put a stop to it, and we are putting a stop to it all around the world.
So I'm just wondering, how did you come up with the name Billboard Chris? Was that your own idea, or did someone else give it to you?
Someone else actually did name me. At first I put up a billboard, a real billboard in Vancouver that said, "I love J.K. Rowling." It got taken down after one day. The inspiration for that was a woman in the UK who had put up a poster at the Edinburgh train station that said the same thing. It also just got taken down after one day because some people on Twitter complained that it was hate speech. In Vancouver, it was a politician who complained it was hate speech. And so I'm not going to let them silence me. A week later, I had the same billboard up in San Francisco, then Utah, Portland, Los Angeles, all throughout the metro in DC, and then Times Square. That was my September of 2020. And I saw in the comments of a YouTube video, someone had said to someone, "What do you think of this guy, Billboard Chris?" And I thought that's a perfect nickname because I had already evolved my campaign a little by then. I was now wearing signs because no sign companies in Canada would work with me. But I'm not going to let them silence me, so I did the only thing I could do. I had signs made. And it's easier to wear them than hold them, so that's what I do. And I just talk to people. And I'm not going to stop until this child abuse stops.
So, Chris, what does success look like to you in this space? When can you hang up your billboards?
Success is massive awareness, which leads to political success, where we are banning this practice all around the world. But ultimately, it should be the medical associations putting a stop to this themselves. Doctors have all sworn an oath to first do no harm. Not first do harm because a child says they were born in the wrong body. That's totally insane. So the medical associations need to put a stop to this, but they don't want to listen because they've been captured by activists themselves. So I'm all about parental rights, but there's one right parents don't have, and that's the right to abuse their children. And it is the role of society and politicians at large to put a stop to child abuse. So right now, that's the main objective. Political wins. And as we've seen in the UK, we need systematic reviews done where the pediatricians, not the politicians, put a stop to this.
Chris, thanks so much for joining me today. More power to your arm. I wish there were 50 more people like you. I'm Senator Alphabet for United Australia Party.